Hi everyone, my name is Phoebe Ohayon and I'm head of design at Voice Branding. So, in the next 20 minutes, we will talk about how brands and companies are becoming audible and what that means in the context of voice. We're going through these four topics and brand cases that lay out the user's expectations and needs. And this affects the design of the voice brand, the audio and sonic identity, the strategy behind it. But most important of all, I think how all these design decisions affect the user experience. I always feel it's essential to realize that your voice does so much more than speak words. When people hear any voice, they automatically and unconsciously assign a personality to it. Our brains can detect the slightest nuances and changes in voice and sound communication and attach meaning to it, whether it's functional or emotional. Voice-only communication enhances empathic accuracy. So this again supports the necessity to think about what the desired persona is that you want your users to perceive, and what type of voice and sound identity conveys this. So that's why strong brands create value through the sound of their voice and speak in a way that is perceived as desired. And the next four elements are essential to creating this value. Let's start with the first one, identity. So the University of Waterloo actually researched how the persona of Siri, Alexa, and Google was perceived based on hearing their voice. The persona of Siri, or the personality of Siri, being disingenuous and cunning was probably not what Apple had in mind when designing Siri. But this shows when designing a voice or sound identity, it's so important to validate your design decisions with user research. This input is so valuable because it actually gives you perspective on how your brand is being interpreted by your audience and what the audience expects of your brand, your product, and your service overall, but also in specific interactions and situations. That being said, for the case we did with Babylon, it was very important to user test and to understand their audience and take this into the sonic identity as well. So the main question was, how are users experiencing the brand and the services? The answer to this question not only gives us valuable input on how to translate the brand identity into sound, but it also gives the brand valuable input to create consistency in how the brand identity communicates and is perceived by its users. So for Babylon, the brand identity and how they operate and their whole culture is all in the name. In the ancient city of Babylon, almost 2,500 years ago, citizens needing medical advice often gathered in the town square to share thoughts on treatments and common illnesses. This is one of the earliest examples of democratizing healthcare. And it's from their health-conscious ancestors that they take inspiration for their 21st century services. This is part of their brand identity and was essential and gave us valuable design input. Aside from this, we've learned also that going to the doctor is a very daunting experience for many users. For Babylon, it is really important to actually create services that achieve the opposite of that, and to make users feel more comfortable and at ease when discussing medical advice or going to the doctor. And by knowing this, we found relevant connections that shape the foundational sound of the brand. Their sonic identity lies within the fact that sung and chanted poetry played an important role to the Babylonians. It was used to help calm down people, ease pain, frustration by distracting them with vocal expressions, nowadays known as lullabies. We discovered that lullabies are still proving to be effective when it comes to healing. They can reduce stress, pain, and frustration, and on top of that, lullabies open a door to a musical culture in which each is born. For us, that was reason enough to take a closer listen. So we studied the musical ingredients that emotionally define a lullaby and combined our findings with ancient Babylonian musical culture. We learned about instruments of ancient Mesopotamia, such as harps, lyres, lutes, and reed pipes, and converted it all to a modern, unique sound identity to make users feel more comfortable, positive, and at ease. Let me play you the sound logo real quick. So the second topic that creates value is relationship. The relationship you have as a brand with the consumer and the consumer has with your brand. KFC Canada has created a food ordering voice service that is really worth making a remark about because they understand the importance of their brand persona and their identity and the relationship consumers have with their brand and product and services. By recreating the voice of company founder Colonel Harlan Sanders, they created a distinctive KFC food ordering experience. It really differentiates from their competitor Foodora, where consumers could already make food purchases via Alexa. But it also differentiates and is very distinctive from the generic Alexa voice itself of the voice assistant. Besides ordering food, consumers can talk to Colonel Harlan Sanders about chicken. It allows the brand and the consumers to connect regarding their passion for food, and in this case, chicken. So this shows KFC understands that Alexa is actually not capable of maintaining the relationship they have with the consumer and is not up for the task to provide the desired service and the brand experience. Who's in for a joke? Let's listen to the same joke by Alexa and our KFC chief.
Hi, I'm Colonel Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Let me tell you a joke. What do you call a chicken crossing the road? Poultry in motion. Got it. Poultry in motion. Food for laughter.
Hi, I'm Colonel Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Let me tell you a joke. What do you call a chicken crossing the road? Poultry in motion. Got it? Poultry in motion. Food for laughter.
So the choice to differentiate creates new relationships with the consumer, but also maintains the relationship consumers have with your brand already. But also trust is a key factor that consumers can assign to your voice brand in less than a second. Besides the personality we assign after hearing a voice, we also immediately decide if we trust it or not, and therefore also the brand and the product and service behind it. Aside from the language, and if you understand it or not, when we hear these two voices,
Oké, let's go, speler 1.
Hey, daar zijn we dan.
we immediately assign a personality to it. And it also creates a preference in which voice we trust more than the other. So the next topic is about functionality versus emotional applications of the voice brand. And therefore, we take a closer look at one of Boeing's voice brands for the F/A-18 jet fighter. The pilots call her Bitching Betty. This voice is integrated into the aircraft with a functional purpose only. She's the auditory alert system in the aircraft when something is so important that needs more attention than just a flickering light bulb on the dashboard. Let's listen to a sample.
Pull up, pull up! Roll right, roll right! Flight controls, flight controls. Bingo.
As you can hear,
Bingo.
the voice adjusts to the urgency of the context. So when it's urgent, the second repetition intensifies in loudness, and it relates to the seriousness of the situation and invokes a fight or flight response from the pilots. So in conclusion, it's actually really important to understand when your voice brand needs to be functional or has an emotional purpose. So the last topic is about ownership. And I want to highlight a case of the BBC and their move to develop their own voice assistant. And with this move, they take control over their data, their brand identity, how it's communicated through the voice medium, but also the content, the services, and the security. For them, it's especially important to take control of the NLP part, the natural language processing. So therefore, it's recording its own staff for speech data to train their voice model to recognize actually all the British accents, with a particular focus on harsh accents that the Google Assistant and Alexa can't process. Collecting voice data as a brand is actually creating a treasure that allows you to train multiple models, if it's NLP or a TTS. It gives you the data and the flexibility to try out different AI models with different providers and different suppliers. So strong brands create value through the sound of their voice and speak in a way that is being perceived as desired. So we've talked about identity and this being the key factor to differentiate as a brand and be authentic in the voice landscape, but also make sure that you're being perceived as desired. We've also talked about relationship and creating preference and being memorable and staying top of mind. And we've also talked about how the voice brand plays a key role in the consumer's trust, in the conversational agent that they're interacting with, and therefore the brand behind it. We've also talked about how the voice brand optimizes functionality and triggers the right emotions in the user experience. And last but not least, ownership and the responsibility that comes with it on managing the conversation and the opportunity of controlling your own data, brand identity, content, and services. Thank you, guys. If you have any questions, you can ask me now, or you can email me as well, or find me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Please do. I would love to connect, and have a great conference.